big Watto to you interwebbers out there, and welcome once again to Grandad's Top Tips. Today, Grandad is going to show you around his plumbing. Yeah, I know, that sounds quite exciting, doesn't it? I'm going to flush my radiator systems. Before you start any plumbing work, well, in particular in this case, I must isolate the boiler. So I'm going to go off and do that now. Okay, Grandad's back. I've isolated the boiler, so now, well, it won't switch on whilst I'm doing this work. I'm going to take this radiator off. Some of you who are a bit observant might notice I've got a load of little magnets on the bottom of that radiator. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Let me explain what I'm trying to do. So the sludge that goes around your radiator system is actually magnetic, and it's called magnetite. And what I'm trying to do in this particular case is these magnets will normally be on the back of the heater so you don't see them. As the water passes through this radiator, the magnets attract magnetite. That's fine, but you've got to be able to get that magnetite out of this radiator, otherwise it just won't work. So what I'm going to do is take this radiator off and flush it. First thing Grandad needs to do is turn off the thermostatic valve there, and there is on this side another valve, and this valve is used for balancing the radiator system. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on, but this also needs to be turned off. Make note of how many turns it takes you before you turn this off. That's what not to do. You don't want to turn these valves fully tight like that, but anyway, let me just turn this off. I know then that that's fully tight, so it's fully on, which isn't actually a correct thing to do, but it doesn't matter in this particular case. Right, let me just turn this off. Right, that's off. I'm actually going to replace that valve because I don't like it. So this is off, so no water can come into the radiator, and this is off. No water can come into the radiator. Just going to crack open this nut here. It doesn't really matter too much as to which side you work on first, but obviously when you do that you're going to get water running out of the radiator. So in this case it doesn't matter too much because I've got no flooring down in the kitchen. What you need is a nice rag, something to catch the water in. There you go, that will do fine. When you go to open up a valve on a radiator, you need to hold the body of this valve. I'll just move this across to this side. Okay, so you need to hold the body of the valve to keep it nice and firm. You need to break open the seal here, and water will start to come out. Okay, just undo a couple of cracks, and then on the top of the radiator, in this particular case it is here, there is a bleed valve. Just open that bleed valve, air will come through here, water will pour out of there. Just open up this valve. You can hear the water draining out. Before I started this job, I did put some radiator flush fluid through. That's to clean all the gunk out, okay? And you can see just how dirty that water is. And it's starting to slow down a bit now, but this is, as you can see, I've changed the bucket. Just keep on going until it stops. When you want to stop the water from flowing, you just turn the air lock key to lock it off, and that will stop the water from flowing. Not totally, but it'll stop it, and that'll allow you to just change your bucket over. There you go, and then just turn the valve to open it again, and just let that run until it stops running. Okay, I'm just going to remove all the magnets now. Maybe I should have done that earlier, because then that would release the magnetite to flow out there. But it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to take this radiator off the wall and then I'm going to flush it. So back in a moment. Once your radiator's stopped dripping, I don't know if it'll totally stop, but you know, if you want to risk it, you can go to the next step, which I'm going to do. Just uncouple the radiator from the valve. Right, now if you've got water pouring out, whatever you do with this, it ain't going to make no difference. You've got a leaky valve somewhere, so you just have to try and recover the best you can, I would say, on that one. Right, it's not going to move totally out of the way, but there you go. That's now clear out of there. Do the same to the other side. Okay, I've got that one out, so that's handy. Let's just see if I can actually get this one out. It will come out, but you don't want to put too much force. No, that's okay. That's not going to move simply because this is too tight up against there, but the radiator is undone from that. Then to remove the radiator off the wall, you just lift it up. So when you lift it up, you just need to be mindful that you're going to then bring the top down to stop the water coming out of the radiator. If this valve is off, which it is now, if I pull this off the wall and put the bottom higher than the top, then obviously no more water will come out, if you quite understand what I mean there. But let's see what happens. So you simply lift the radiator up. That's it off there. Oops, daisy. Don't do that. Okay, so now nothing else is going to come out of there. I'll just clean up this mess here, but look how horrible and sludgy that is. You don't want to be doing that on your carpet, obviously. Oh, what a mistake to make. Grandad's made a mess. I've done this so you don't have to. Wow, just look at the mess in there. I don't think this radiator has been off for years. Right, I'm just going to clear up my mess that I've made. I'm going to get this outside and then I'll show you what I'll do with it. So now it's simply turn your water on and flush it through the radiator the best you can, okay? Then when it starts pouring out the other side, it will make a bit of a mess with the black sludge that you got. Okay, so don't do this you know, on your best patio. Right, let's start. Maybe if I just move that off the fence so it doesn't oh man, look at that. Okay, we'll just keep that running until it goes nice and clear. No, just think, this sludge is in every radiator in your house. Plumbers, they have a thing called a power wash. And I'd strongly advise that you do get a power wash, you know, but then maybe once every 6 months, once a year, just come along and do this Grandad's top tip just to keep things, well, in tip-top condition. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to disconnect this from this side and I'm going to flush it through the other way, okay? Okay, so now the water coming out there is, well, it's not clearer, it's not perfect, but there you go, we just need to get the main crud out of the radiator anyway. So Grandad's going to clear this off now. I'll be back to show you more tips. Okay, so you saw all that mess come out of the radiator. Now what we're going to do about the rest of the radiators. Do we have to take them all off the wall? Possibly not. You need to understand basically which way the water flows around your radiator system. In most cases, but not all cases, the hot water will come in through the thermostat. Okay, then go through the radiator and out there. And that's how it works on this one. If you want to know for sure, all you do is, with the radiator cold, you just switch it on and just feel the pipe to see which side gets hot first, then you know the flow. It's coming through there and out through there. Now guys, watch this. I say watch this. Let's have a quick look. These are normal hose connectors. I think the trade name is hose lock, but we won't go there. Right, what I can do is screw that one on there. Right, this one is smaller, so you need a reducer. So here is my reducer. Okay, let me just screw that one onto there. Right, now I've got these, I can just connect hoses on here. I'll pump water in there and eventually it'll go through the radiator systems and then come out there. The thing is you don't want to do all the radiators at once. So every radiator that's got a thermostatic valve on it, turn them all off. Grandad's going to do that now. So that's all the valves off on all the radiators that I've switched off. Then some of you can't switch off, so that doesn't really matter. But what I'm going to do now is, because the way I did this, these pipes may still be pressurized. So I'm just going to go to another radiator, undo the bleed, okay, and just leave it until you stop hearing the hiss of the sound coming out, and that'll depressurize the whole system. Grandad will be back in a minute. Then do remember that if you do go and just let out any air that's in there, do remember to do it back up again, because if you don't, the water we're going to pump through here will come out where you've left it open. So what I have is fresh water coming through into this pipe and the outlet coming through there. So this water is now running through the whole system. The water will take the path of the least resistance. If I restrict the pressure a little bit on this outgoing pipe, we know that the water will be going around the radiators instead of just going straight through these base pipes. So let me just put a little bit of restriction on this. So here is the output of the pipe. Okay, the water looks quite clean. I can restrict the water with this valve here on this particular pipe. So there you go, I'll just turn that down a little bit. And that there will now be putting pressure into the system, and the radiators that are on will be filling up now. What you do now is you go and pick one radiator, any radiator, and go and turn the valve on. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that's that radiator on. I'll just let it flow for a little while. So once the water's running clear, you can then turn that radiator off, which you just turned on, and go to the next one and turn that one on. Just leave it flushing for 2 minutes or so, it doesn't need much. Yeah, just do that throughout the whole house. So I'll just gently pull this off. There we go. And if I put this above the height, or in fact if I throw it out the window, that will be fine. Okay, let me just uncouple this one. I'll just take that out. How to replace a valve? First thing is, again, is to depressurize the system, which we have done basically. If I now undo, let me just take this valve off here. Right, okay. And then just have a look at the valve I'm going to put on, which is here. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. Okay, so the olive is on the radiator in this particular case. Right, let me just see if I can. Okay, so first thing to do is just undo this valve here to release the pressure. Or have I done that already? No, there we go. Right. In a minute, I suspect you might get a load of water through. No, okay. Let's just let the water through until it stops. This is going to be a hot swap. You may not be able to get that to stop totally until all the radiators in the whole house have been emptied. Quickly do a hot swap. So get your tools ready. Oh, there we go. Careful, because we're going to reuse this olive on this side of the pipe. If we damage that, then we're going to have to replace it. cookie. Put that one in there. Start it off by hand. There you go then, the radiator has been fully flushed out and back on the wall. Now when you tighten up these joints, you don't have to grolly them on really tight. And some of you might be saying, Grandad, you put no PTFE tape on it. Well, at this moment in time, you don't need to. The reason is because it's the olive that makes the seal. So it's only if this olive is damaged that you may get away with a bit of PTFE tape on there to stop it from leaking. The only other reason why you might want to put a PTFE tape on is simply to give the threads a little bit more freedom, less resistance against metal, but it's not going to stop it from leaking. Everything's all done up, I believe. What I'm going to do now is repressurize the whole system. Then for this you really need to know what you're doing, but if you follow me, we'll have a look. First off, it's got a one-way valve. It's also got a isolation point on this particular part of the valve. It's got an isolation point there and an isolation point there. However, you should never leave this connected up, because see all that sludge that came out of the radiators? If anything failed, then that sludge will go back through there and go into your drinking water. And I'll tell you what, I think the water board would be a bit mad if you did that. Okay, so let's have a look and see how we pressurize this back up. So you can see now I've got about half a bar in there. Let me just put a tiny bit more in. Okay, that'll do. Now what I'm going to do is just go and check for leaks. Let's go and have a quick look and see what's happening. Could have water pouring out all over the place now. Okay, so far so good. No water pouring out of the system. Whenever you put water into your heating system, you must put a inhibitor in, and this will stop the pipes from corroding. And this needs to be put in every year. Okay. This particular inhibitor says it's suitable for 11 radiators, or I think it says 11, but I've got less than that, so this is fine. It can be awkward to get the inhibitor into the system, but I'm lucky because I have a towel rail. Okay, I found the bleed valve. It's over here, and you can probably stop now. I was going to say you can probably hear the air coming through it, but that's open. I've just released this valve here a little bit with a screw, and the heater should now be draining. I've cracked open this top nut, and what I want to do is get all the water out of here so I've got enough space to put all of my inhibitor in there. All right, you should be wearing gloves and things when you do this. Yeah, right. When you're pouring it in, just make sure you've got the bleed valve open, just so you don't get the air locks and it spits back up at you. So that's the inhibitor back in there. I'm now going to close the bleed valve and put the bung back in to here. Let's just make sure that the rubber seal is okay. It seems to be. This is probably a place where you could use PTFE tape to stop leaks, simply because it's only got a washer on it and it doesn't have an olive fitting to stop it from leaking. We'll see that later. Right, I'm just going to do this up, because now what I'm going to do is go back and pressurize up the boiler system to 1 bar. Okay, I'm just going to switch the heater on, It'll go through its interlock checks. What I want to do is see this pump come on. You can hear the burners kicking in there. The pump is on. I'm going to start switching on the heater that I've been playing with and just make sure we've got no leaks. Right, I've just switched the valve on and I heard the radiator fill. So when you start introducing water into the system with the heating on, do keep an eye on the water pressure. You do not want it to fall below half bar. If it does, then your interlock overrides will kick in. Sorry, not the overrides, but the interlocks will kick in. And yeah, if you don't know how to reset it, then that could be a bit problematic. So I'm just going to bleed the system a little bit. Let's see. Okay, I can hear the air. I can feel the air coming through. I'll just wait for the water to get there. Right, I'm just going to go back to check the pressure. Okay, so already we dropped down, well, not too bad, but it's around about half a bar. I'm just going to reintroduce some more water. Okay, see the pressure raising. There it is at 1 bar. I'll just turn the water off. Right, that's the water off. Let me just go and check the heater again. Just bleed some more out. There we go. The inhibitors in the radiator. The first thing I do is switch on the 2 valves. These ones, they just go on full. Then did you hear the water rush in there? Well, you probably didn't, but the water's just rushed in there. I'm now just going to go back and just check the water pressure because I don't want that. Okay, I've got no leaks. Right, now time to bleed the radiator. I'll just get a little cloth. I'm just going to bleed it for a few seconds. So I can hear the air coming through there. There you go. We now got all the air out of the system. Okay, it's now time for Grandad to tidy up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bleed all the radiators now, at some point anyway. Let's just make sure that the system is totally efficient. Then I'll get the boiler engineer in to let him do his magic to service the boiler. Grandad out.